Hi guys, Tracy here, and I'm going to be working with this week's Nuts About Sketches sketch for this layout that I'm going to be doing. And so this is what it looks like. I really love that it's got kind of like one big photo and then a place here for a whole bunch of little things. I'm going to make these be photos, so it looks like they might have been embellishments. You could do flags, would look kind of nice with the fishtails all kind of down there with some layering, or anything you wanted, but I'm going to use this as an opportunity to do one big photo with a whole bunch of little photos underneath of it, and then some journaling right there. So I'm going to follow the sketch quite closely other than making that change. And yeah, so I'm going to take advantage of this as an opportunity because I've been wanting to scrapbook some of our Disney dining experiences, and I got this sticker at Michael's with that exact layout in mind. So this is going to be my title. It says Character Dining. And I'm not sure where it'll go. It'll probably end up going right where she put the title. And I've pulled out my themed Disney stuff. I don't have a ton of themed scrapbooking supplies. I don't do a lot of themed scrapbooking, but given our trip to Disney, I got some. And I already had some because I actually had a honeymoon in Disney that I was planning to scrap and I never got around to it. So, and some of these are kind of like I bought these for my daughters because they're probably going to do some scrapbooking too eventually with these photos. So these are their favorite princesses and that sort of thing. So some of this is for me. Yeah, and some of it is for them. So I've got my themed stuff picked out here. It's mostly paper, but a couple of little stickers and stuff. And I have a big stack of pictures. I'm going to try to pick one that is represented, kind of like one that's a nice big one to use for this photo. And then I'm just going to take a bunch of the ones of them with the characters and just print them up in a smaller format and spread them across the bottom of the layout. So that's what I plan to do. And I'll take care of getting all those photos printed up and picked out, and then I'll come back and put you on fast forward and we'll do some scrapbooking. Okay guys, so I have my pictures all printed up. I printed more than what I'll need. And I'm thinking that this will be my main photo just because I love Pluto's one of my favorites, one of our whole family's favorites, and it's just kind of a really fun pose with him with his ears. So I'm thinking that'll be the accent photo. Some of these I already had printed up in my big huge stack of Disney photos that I have here, and others were photos that I had already used the nice copies of these, so I just printed up new copies. And I just printed them up on my Epson. I have a PictureMate charm, and it's right here in my scrap room. So all I have to do is hop on either my phone or my iPad, and I have a laptop down here too, and it just prints wirelessly to that, so it's really easy. And it prints beautiful prints, but these are not beautiful because they were just taken in bad lighting conditions on my iPhone, and I didn't really even take a good time to take my time to make sure that it wasn't blurry and stuff. It's just so exciting and stuff, and I'd rather enjoy the moment than worry about photography. So not all of the pictures are gorgeous or anything, but they all capture the moments, and that's what really matters, right? So I just printed out these extra ones that were ones that I had used the big versions of them already. So printed them up in 2x3 format, which is my favorite size for small photos. I use them a lot in mini albums, and I use them a lot in Project Life. So this is my favorite size photo. And then these are ones, this is a photo collage that I just had printed at Costco, and then these are more Costco photos. And so if I use these ones, I'm going to cut them down to be the similar size of that. So I'm thinking it might work. We'll see. I don't know if all of these in the sketch, all of these are the same size, and I kind of like that, but they might not all be the same size just for practicality reasons, because it's hard to print them so that they'll all be the same size. So I'm going to stop talking now and just scrap. So we'll see how this goes. Okay, so I'm just going to start by cutting up these photos into little pieces, and I cropped them in quite a lot so that really it's just the characters and my kids are showing. Didn't need any of the background, although I did in places purposely leave plates and stuff showing just so that it's clear that all of these photos are taken at restaurants. And I'm cutting up more photos than I end up using, but I wasn't sure how that would go until I placed them all, so I figured I'd rather cut more. I always give my leftovers to my kids, so they never mind when I cut too many. And so now I'm just kind of in my head trying to figure out how I'm going to place all this. I thought about using a black background, and I eventually ended up going with the yellow. I don't know what I'm doing here. Oh yes, I'm looking for some yellow paper. And here it is. I used the Swiss Dots basil paper, and I left the black border on it, around it, to kind of anchor it, and also to balance out all the black that's in the photos. And now I'm just kind of trying to decide which of, I knew I wanted to use some themed paper on this layout, but I wasn't sure which one. And because it was going to be a circle, I ended up using that the printed one. You'll see in a second which one I ended up picking. So here I'm looking for some red. I knew I wanted some red, so that's the paper that I ended up using. And I use my slice cutting mat for my circle cutter. That EK Success circle cutter works best with a glass mat, not a self-healing mat. It actually cuts quite bumpy with a self-healing mat. And so there's my circle. And at this point I realized that the circle is looking a little floaty, so I'm going to have to add a black border. And so I'm just kind of making sure that all the photos fit. And so I'm actually going to cut my border out of the same piece of paper that I'm using for the border around the outside of the layout. So I'm just making sure that I cut my circle well in the middle so that there's enough room on the edges of my circle for my mat to show up. And here I'm just cutting off two adjacent sides of the yellow paper so that I can have the black border. And now I'm just adding some outlining with my .03 precision pen by American Crafts. And oops, I usually don't show that in my video. Sorry guys, just keeping track of what I'm using. And there I am matting that circle with the black. And now I'm gonna sprinkle some black ink. That's Mr. Huey's Warm Calico. It's very close to black. I think it's a dark gray, but it shows up black most of the time. So, and it did here. You'll see it in the close-ups. And now the Mr. Hughes was taking way too long to dry on that glossy paper, so I just decided to wipe it off instead of waiting. I don't have much patience when it comes to stuff like that. And now because that's glossy paper, I'm using a Lumocolor pen for that outlining just so that it sticks. And now I'm going to go back. Oops, there. That happened quickly. So there I'm just kind of trying to figure out the layout, and I thought for a second there about using those post-it notes, but they didn't match at all. They're all pinks and stuff. And I think I'm just going, yeah, I'm looking for something to do the journaling with at this point. And so I'm rummaging through my scrap bin looking for something mostly white. And I came up with the Smash. The back of the Smash packaging has the grid, and I really liked it, so I used, that's a Creative Memories punch. It has the Mickey ears on one side, and on the other side it has some fireworks that you'll see me using later. And so I figured out where I was going to place it, and then I just ran a pencil around where the photos cut into the journaling piece so that when I do my journaling I leave space for the photos to overlap on my journaling piece. And this journaling is really poorly written. It's like, it doesn't make good grammatical sense. I was just kind of, I think I was tired when I was doing this. That's the excuse I'm going to go with, because it doesn't, the journaling doesn't quite make all that much sense, and it kind of trails off and doesn't really end. But that's okay, because you get kind of the gist of the layout by the journaling anyways. Not everything can be perfect. And so those photos looked quite cluttered and random across the edge, so I'm outlining them in a broad-tipped marker just to kind of try to tie them all in together. And then I decided to outline the main photo as well with a thinner marker just to give it more of a sketchy look. And now with the outlining on all those photos, it really does bring them all together and make them look great. I love how it looks like that. And I tried to get that Cinderella picture in, but it just wasn't, I didn't like the look of it being the only place where there were photos too deep, like 2 photos deep or 2 photos wide, or however you want to say that. I really just preferred the look of them being scattered in one layer across the bottom. So I ended up not going with the Cinderella picture. And yeah. If I was going to add the Cinderella, I was going to have to use the Prince Charming to try to balance it off a little bit, but I didn't want to look like it was stuck in there. So I ended up not doing that. And then Winnie the Pooh and Tigger, I had to kind of offset them a little bit so they didn't look lined up. And I also put the Mickey and Daisy pictures were both big, so I had to separate them a little bit to balance out the layout. Oh, look, and yeah, I was showing you how I have my Scrap-A-Ma-Bob down by my left-hand arm, and as I was taking the Pop Dot labels off, the backings off of them, I thought I was dropping them into the garbage part of my Scrap-A-Ma-Bob, but I was actually dumping them into my coffee cup. So I just put that character dining title sticker on there, and now I'm just trying to figure out what other embellishments I'm going to use. I on a layout that is as crowded as this with so many elements, I don't want to use too many embellishments. And sorry, given that the character dining title is very intricate and detailed, everything else that I use, I want it to be kind of plain. So I'm just going with some basic stars, and that's the other side of that Creative Memories Disney punch that I used for on the journaling piece. And I'm just gonna kind of play around with placement, and that punch punches out a star or a starburst or a firework is the word I'm looking for, as well as a bunch of little confetti dots that you can place around it to make it look like true fireworks. And so I'm taking some of those chipboard pieces and just trying to place them. I couldn't figure out a nice way to place them, but I came up with something that works okay. So now the layout is pretty much complete. I'm just kind of fussing with the final details, and then I just have to glue everything down. And so I'm going to use my Zig 2-way glue pen to glue down such tiny little things. I'm just putting a little dot on the background paper where I want the confetti pieces to go, and then I'm just placing them with my fingernails. I use my fingernails instead of tweezers because I can, but tweezers would work fine too if you prefer to work that way. I'm really clumsy with tweezers. I can never pick anything up with them, but I guess I'm just used to my own fingernails, so that's what I tend to go with. And adding some outlining to those chipboard pieces. They were just too white. They were colored in white, and they needed some black to tie them in with all the other elements of the layout. And then that brad needed some black on it too. I guess it's a button, not a brad. The Mickey ears, the blue Mickey ears. And I ended up just running a marker over the thread. It was pre-threaded with blue thread that was exactly the same color as the button. And so I ended up just going over the thread with a black marker to make it turn black. And I'm just outlining everything there, all of the elements that I added. And I'm going around, there you see me coloring in the thread. I'm going around the outside of the fireworks and the confetti so that it's getting the outline looked, but it would have been too intricate to do it. And my computer is frozen, so I don't know what I'm narrating at this point, but I guess that's, oh, there we go. I'm, sorry guys. Now I'm just putting on the last of my confetti. I was a little lost there for a second. And just going to add a date stamp, I guess. Oh, right to the top there. I forgot I did that. And then that's the layout. And then I'm just gonna go, I thought about putting something to fill in that little hole. I went back and added some little confetti pieces to the two stars that were on that main photo. And I don't have to outline them because they're on black, so that's no, there's no need there. And I'm just going to show you the close-up. So thanks so much for watching, everybody.